All right, Cancer, thanks for tuning in to your December of 2014 horoscope. My name is Athan. Okay, so the emphasis this month is on your sixth house. Sixth house has to do with your health, your day-to-day routine, your work when it's done on like your craft, something you're developing in that sector. But overall, it's just your day-to-day life. So this has been a transformative area for you with Pluto transiting your sixth house. And so perhaps some, releasing that needs to take place in terms of how things need to be organized, how things need to be done. Perhaps in terms of your health, realizing that some things in your health just need you to take a back seat sometimes and allow things to work themselves out, work their way out. But there's constructive energy here, and it's restructuring your orientation on this area of your life is essentially what Pluto's been doing as he's been transiting your sixth house. The reason why I'm mentioning Pluto is because we got a lot of activity involving Pluto. We've got a square with Uranus taking place, the squares that have been going on for the past couple of years. But it's the second to last square. The last one's going to be in March. So it's a very significant time, and I think from now to March there's going to be a chance, an opportunity to really take the active role in restructuring our lives to create more freedom. And again, it's restructuring your day-to-day. It's needing to change things and change your day-to-day life in general to facilitate more of who you really are, more of your freedom, what you're really about. And through that, you're going to notice that your path, which is where Uranus is transiting your ninth house, your path is unfolding, your path is changing when you don't hold on too tight to the more material aspect of lives, but not material as in possessions, material in terms of the physical reality of things, how things need to be ordered materially in your life, which is what the sixth house is all about. So there's a strong emphasis on that area, and as these fast-moving planets now start to enter your sixth house, they're going to cross over and conjunct up to Pluto this month. The Sun, Mercury, and Venus are all going to go over there, starting with Venus, actually. So with Venus leading the way into your sixth house early in the month on the 5th, I think there's going to be a wanting. I think there's a desire and an enjoyment in taking care of the routine, taking care of your health, or whatever it is in that sixth house area. And that is going to create a sense of enjoyment, especially from the 5th to the 13th, so enjoy it. And through that, there is an orientation taking place, which is an orientation of you finding the immense beauty in that, in those changes, and when you release, etc. Then Mercury is going to go in on the 13th, followed by the Sun. So that's when things become a lot more conscious, especially when the Sun gets in there. But by the 15th, when the Sun gets in there, it's much more awareness in sense of what kind of enjoyment and fun and playfulness and gratitude that you can get when you're taking care of your health, when you're organized, when your routine is taken care of. But remember, it's without attachment. So that's the trick with Pluto, you might say, is being a willing participant in restructuring without any specific attachment to how things need to work out or how it's going to unfold. And like I said, through that, there's going to be a tremendous amount of freedom. Now, from the middle of the month, from the 10th to the 20th, that's when we have a really strong, that's when the 15th exactly, actually, is when the square goes exact between Uranus and Pluto. But we're going to be feeling these energies all month, but I feel especially from the 10th to the 20th, that's when the energies are going to be the highest. So with this square here, it's this, freedom that can be had from it, like I've been saying, but it's freedom in terms of your path, right? Because Uranus has been transiting your ninth house, and I think a lot of you are seeing that when you listen to your higher self, when you do things that are true to your heart, true to you, it's creating opportunities. It's actually creating optimism. It's creating a lot of fortune and beautiful things in your life, which is what the ninth house is all about. So it's about connecting your higher self to the higher realms. Channeling that energy down is what I feel. So while all of this activity is going on the top of your chart with Uranus there, lots of things changing in the big picture of your life, it's really about merging these two energies together, Uranus and Pluto. And in this sense, it's bringing in those higher things, bringing in all this big picture changes that's happening, changes to your path, etc. All this is very spiritual too, with Uranus transiting Pisces, is bringing it into reality and making it a part of your reality without that sense of attachment. So you have the opportunity to take that active role to make those changes this month in your life. So I suggest that you really do that, because if we're the active role in the transformations, then things no longer happen to us. because they're going to happen either way. That's just the energies of the square. These transformations are going to happen. You might as well be a willing participant, be willing to make these changes, and then naturally you will find flow and peace and tranquility actually in that entire process. Now, one of the things in the astrology that's really indicating that is Chiron and Neptune are sextiling up to this up to Pluto as the fast-moving planets now towards the end of the month start to go over Pluto. So from the 20th onward, starting with Venus, Venus goes over Pluto, which is perhaps going to have something to do with relationships. Maybe this is everyone in general might be going through some transformations there, but it's light. It's nothing specific about relationships for you per se. It depends on your natal chart, of course. But with Venus in general, it's restructuring the relationship we have with ourselves. And there's this enjoyment that you're going to see that when you have a stronger awareness of merging the masculine and feminine principles within yourself, and it's anchoring that energy down like I'm talking about, it's creating positive changes in the work, you see. So wanting to make these changes, I feel from the 20th, you're going to really feel, but it's very mundane. It's when the things become real. It's when the actual changes are taking place. The first half of the month, I feel like it's kind of conscious, but you really have the opportunity from the 20th onward to do that, make those changes. And I really suggest that you do. Find the enjoyment in it with Venus. Use your conscious mind, use your rational mind to work with these as well, because Mercury is going over Pluto. And use the fun and enjoyment. See what life is all about. Life is about fun, enjoyment, and through that, that's going to be a very strong catalyzing effect for you as well. But you're going to notice when you become that willing participant, it's very healing and very spiritual. Okay, that's what this sextile with Chiron and Neptune. So go within, go deep, and then naturally through that, you're going to see the healing and all that takes place. But it's all happening on the day-to-day level. It's all happening, again, regarding perhaps your health and those other areas that are ruled by that sixth house. But it's so much deeper than that. You know, at the end of the day, the sixth house is about embodying compassion in the everyday life, in your everyday existence, and having a stronger connection to the material world, and seeing how the material world is spiritual. You know, there's a tremendous amount of spirituality here, but for you, it's taking that grounding, that Uranus energy of bringing it down and anchoring it into this life and making those constructive changes that need to be made. All right, so let's talk about Jupiter. Actually, before we get to Jupiter, let's talk about Mars, because Mars is another personal planet. He's going to be in your 7th house of relationships for the entire month. So with Mars there, take the action that you're feeling like you want to take with people, with relationships, that motivational force. Mars is playing a very benefic role this month, and he's going to be helping unlock a lot of this freedom that I'm talking about. So it's coming from relationships, but it's very proactive. So take the proactive role in relationships, whatever that means, whatever that is for you. But it means, you know, it means essentially everything in terms of that. You know, maybe assuming more assertive role in the relationship, taking charge a little bit more in the grounded way, or perhaps it's if you're single, looking for a relationship, going out and actively looking. All of that's going to be supporting you. It's going to create that freedom, and you're going to notice it's creating a harmonious aspect to Uranus in that 9th house. So really focusing on that drive, that energy with people, with relationships is going to unlock and assist you in this whole transformational process this month. All right, so let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter's been transiting your 1st house for almost the past year for you guys. And so a lot of expansion, a lot of newness, a lot of new beginnings, you might say, with this Jupiter cycle for you. And now he's going to go retrograde on the 9th. So this is the last retrograde before he leaves your 1st house. So use this time from the 9th onward to really reflect on who you are, how your goals are unfolding, how things are progressing in your life, and who you are, you know, on a deep level, but also on the surface too, because the 1st house is your appearance and who you are, how you're coming across. And this is probably going to be relating to relationships as well. But this is for many months, so use this time to reflect, and you're going to notice that your path and everything is under a review, and you're reflecting on everything, and this is good. You want to use that time to do that, and you're going to learn more about yourself in the process, being that willing participant to, you know, look within and see what's going on. Now, speaking of within, let's talk about the, well, for you, the North Node is in the 3rd house. So the North Node this month, I feel, also is going to be a very supportive element to all this as well. Like I'm saying with Mars, the North Node is actually forming a T-square to this, but the thing about the North Node is that the North Node is like a guiding star. And when we move in that direction, we notice things are unfolding and things are happening. So it is playing an important role, and it being in your third house, I think this is really focusing on how you're consciously thinking and how you're consciously communicating and what you're sending out into the universe. Focus on that this month and take the active role again in terms of that. Put the positivity out there, what you want to see. Take the proactive role to really put your intentions out there and see how your mind reciprocates. See how your mind might be tripping you up, how negative thinking might be coming into play, or how you can perhaps communicate better and express yourself a little bit better in terms of relationships. It's also a great month to get deeper with study. You know, the North Node in the third house with this T-square, you might find that learning more, practical knowledge is what this is mostly signifying, not so much philosophy and spirituality, but practical knowledge, like how to fix things, that sort of thing, is going to provide it's also how to get better at your craft too. This could be associated with the sixth house activity, how to get better at what you're doing on a daily level by learning more, perhaps teaching. Anything in that third house. It's very social too. It's actually a very good month for you guys to socialize, get out there, and that's going to support this as well. So focusing on those third house things, I think, is going to be a guiding post, and it's going to make this whole transformation very simpler for you, because where we have a focus, things tend to just kind of flow in that area, and I think it can when you're moving in that North Node direction. But if you're feeling any type of tense energy or whatever in terms of it, because it is a square, it's really, again, about balancing the work, the spirituality with the reality, through conscious orientation, through how you're seeing things and how you're orienting yourself to your reality. All right, so let's talk about Saturn. Saturn just recently entered your fifth house at the beginning of last month. So this is all kind of new, but you guys are learning how to be more disciplined with your self-expression, how to communicate yourself a little bit better in terms of who you are, and perhaps a lot of you are starting a new creative project. You know, Saturn in the fifth could be a new business, entrepreneurship, could be creative path. It's wherever there's work that needs to be made, you can make that work in that fifth house. So for those of you that are artistic, if you are feeling like there's a limitation there, inhibition in your creativity, Saturn is just invoking you to be more disciplined with it. Now is the time to get very disciplined and mature with anything that you're creating, whether it's artistic, business, or whatever. And when you take that mature approach, it's going to help ground you. So there's a lot of energy there in terms of your grounding element. With all these changes, I feel grounding is definitely needed this month. So ground through your creation. Whatever you create, use that as a grounding principle to move forward for the big picture, for the long term. Okay. Now, like I said too, with all this activity towards the end of the month, there's a lot of shifting taking place, and Uranus goes station direct on the 21st at the end of the month. So there's going to be a sense of newness, and it's a newness in terms of your path. I think a lot of you where maybe you felt like your path wasn't unfolding and things were kind of getting in the way with Uranus retrograde in your ninth house, know that things are going to start to unfold, but it's coming from all of this transformation. And again, the more willing you are to make these changes, the more it's going to assist that, and the more clear it's going to make it. But it's a subtle energy, but I think definitely by January you're going to notice things are starting to move forward again, then they're in that ninth house, and it's through the sense of freedom. By being your true self, by being your higher self, anchoring that down, you're finding a newfound freedom in your life in general. All right, so let's talk about the full and new moon taking place this month. The full moon this month is happening in Taurus, which is your guys' 11th house. It's happening on the 6th. So really reflect on your ideals early part of the month. What's important to you, what your big plans are, your big future plans, not only for yourself, but for the world even. You know, 11th house it's the world, but it's also anything that you do that's in terms of your ideals. And focus on those. So around the 6th, you'll see that there's some information there that's helpful for you to really reflect on, and maybe those ideals are really assisting you in these shifts. So I feel like let yourself really expand those horizons, expand those ideals, and really be free, be unique. The 11th house is really just about being yourself, totally unique individual that you are. And through that, there's going to be, I think, an understanding of what freedom is. And then through that understanding of what freedom is, that's going to assist you in creating that freedom in your path, on your path, with everything that I mentioned with Uranus. Now later on in the month, with these shifts, with these changes, the new moon is going to take place also in that 6th house. So a lot of you might be starting something new in terms of a health regimen, a routine, a new craft, something of that nature, a new day-to-day thing. Perhaps it's work, something like that, something new, and that's going to assist you and help move the energies now into January as the year begins with a lot of activity coming from that 6th house sector. So pay attention around the 21st in terms of what's new been changing, what changed, what energy changed, what shifted in that 6th house area for you. And then through that reflection around the 21st, the energy of the moon is going to build up, and then you can utilize that energy to start actually making plans and putting things into action to then further this new shift and new beginning in that 6th house area for you guys. All right, so I'm going to draw a card and see where Spirit would like a little more emphasis for this particular month for you guys. All right, Leo. Well, Leo is that sun energy, and I was getting a vibe of this, especially talking about the sun. But for you guys in this report, stepping into your joy, your happiness, what you're really about, the zest for life. And for you, it's really strongly associated with that 2nd house. And with the 2nd house, it's about your values. So reach into your values this month, especially around the full moon around the 6th, because it's happening in Taurus. See what's important to you in life, what gives you a smile, what makes you creative, what helps you be yourself, and see how it all comes from playfulness, it all comes from joy. The things we create, what's the point of creating anything if it's not coming from our heart, if it's not coming from our true self, our inner self, our passion for life? You have to have that passion, you have to have that happiness. Through that is where the creativity comes from, and through that is where productive change happens, which for you guys, the ruler of Leo going over Pluto, you're going to be transforming. It's going to be productive, creative change, but it has to be coming from the right place. It has to be coming from the joy and happiness for life. Just want to let you guys know that I'm offering a special this month. It's a 45-minute recorded reading gift you can give to a friend or family member. And of course, you guys already get 50% off my 1-hour sessions, which you can also extend, and it's a great way to look at the year ahead. All right, well, I hope you guys have a great month, and I'll see you next time. Take care.